Huge question. Can advertisers really flash secret messages on screen? Messages you can't even see and make you go out and buy stuff? I mean, it's a massive idea in movies and pop culture, but is there any truth to it? Well, we're about to find out.
Okay, so the very first thing you've got to get is this. Your brain is not a video camera. It's not just passively recording what's going on around you. No, it's much more like a movie director. It's actively picking and choosing what to focus on, organizing it, and then interpreting it to build the world you live in. Your reality. It's a construction.
To really get this, we need to know two key words. First, there's sensation. That's just the raw, kind of meaningless data that your senses are picking up. Light hitting your eyes, sound waves hitting your ears. But perception, that's where the magic really happens. Perception is your brain taking all that raw data and giving it meaning. It's what our brain adds to, or sometimes what it decides to leave out of, those raw sensations.
And believe it or not, this all happens in the blink of an eye through 4 basic stages. It kicks off with what's called primitive categorization, just a super quick scan of what something is. Then your brain does a cue check, looking for any familiar signs or features. Next, it runs a confirmation check, trying to match those cues to a pattern it already knows. And finally, you get confirmation completion. That's the aha moment where your brain locks it in and your perception is formed.
Let's see how this plays out with a pretty wild but 100% true story. So in the US, the brand Sunlight mailed out free samples of a new dish soap, and what happened next was, well, it was a disaster, but it's also the perfect example of this whole perception thing in action.
So here's how it went down. People get this sample. Stage 1, primitive categorization. The brain goes, okay, it's a liquid in a bottle. Got it. Then stage 2, cue check. The brain starts noticing things. The liquid is yellow. And look, there's a big, juicy-looking lemon right there on the label. The brain's just collecting these little clues.
Now for stage 3, the confirmation check. This is where the brain acts like a search engine. It's looking for a pattern that matches these cues: yellow liquid, bottle, lemon. And bingo. It finds a perfect match: Minute Maid lemon juice, which was a super popular brand. So the brain confidently selects the juice mental template, or schema, and completely ignores any other possibility.
And that leads us to the final, fateful stage, confirmation completion. The brain locks it in. Perception formed. This is juice. The result? Almost 80 people had to be treated at poison centers after they drank the dish soap. It's a shocking but powerful example of how automatic this process is. Our brains saw the cues, made a snap judgment, and the consequences were, very, very real.
So if our brain is building our reality, what are the rules? What are its limits? Well, the first big one is something called the absolute threshold. This is simply the absolute weakest signal that your senses can possibly detect. If a sound or a light is below this level, then for you, it basically doesn't even exist.
The perfect example of this is a dog whistle. The sound it makes is a real, physical thing, but the frequency is just too high for our human ears to handle. It's way above our auditory absolute threshold. Your dog's threshold, though, totally different. And that's why they come running when all you hear is silence.
But it's not just about what we can detect from nothing. It's also about what changes we can detect. This has a fancy name, the differential threshold, but it's easier to call it the just noticeable difference, or JND. It's the smallest possible change in something, a light getting a tiny bit brighter, music getting a tiny bit louder, that you can actually notice.
And this leads to a really cool principle called Weber's law. It says that the JND isn't some fixed amount, it's all relative to the starting point. So, for example, if a 10 rupee pen goes up by 5 rupees, you're gonna notice that. But a 5,000 rupee discount on a 75 lakh apartment, you probably wouldn't even register a change that small. The bigger the initial thing, the bigger the change has to be for our brain to even care.
Okay, so now that we're armed with all this knowledge about thresholds, let's circle all the way back to our original mystery. So back in 1957, this researcher claimed he flashed these messages: drink Coca-Cola and eat popcorn, for just a fraction of a second during a movie. He said they were so fast they were below the audience's absolute threshold, but that they still made sales of popcorn and Coke just skyrocket.
This is the story that kicked off the entire subliminal ad panic.
So, did it work? Was this proof of corporate mind control? No, not even a little bit. Turns out the guy who ran the study admitted years later that he just made the whole thing up. His business was failing and he fabricated the results to get clients. The whole story was a hoax.
And ever since then, decades of actual, real research have all pointed to the same conclusion. I mean, something like 2/3 of people still believe this stuff works, but the science is clear. There is basically zero credible evidence that true subliminal messages, things flashed below your conscious awareness, can actually make you buy stuff.
So here's the absolute crucial point. We often get subliminal confused with subtle. They are not the same thing. A true subliminal message is below your sensory threshold. You literally cannot see it. And it's pretty much useless. But a subtle message, like that clever Pepsi ad where the can is dressed up like a Coke can for Halloween, that's fully visible. It's just smart and creative. And that stuff? Oh yeah, that is very effective.
So if these invisible tricks don't work, what does? Simple. The expert use of your 5 senses, all happening right out in the open. Marketers are influencing you through vision, using specific colors and designs, through smell, triggering powerful memories with the scent of coffee or a new car, through sound, using music to make you feel excited or relaxed, through touch, by letting you feel the product, and of course, through taste, by engineering that perfect addictive flavor.
So the real takeaway here is that the magic isn't actually hidden. The influence isn't subliminal. It's a deep, scientific understanding of how our brains build reality in the first place. It's the science of perception, used right in front of our eyes to shape what we see, what we feel, and ultimately, what we buy.
So the next time you walk through a store or watch an ad or even just taste something new, really pay attention. Because that magic trick, that construction of your own reality, is happening all around you all the time. But now you know the secret. So the question is, what are you going to